Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Oh. Insane. Yep, this is the Tesla Model 3 Performance, and this is probably going to be the quickest review I've ever done on this channel for a car, because a lot of the new updates in terms of the design I've already spoken about when it comes to the Tesla Model 3 Highland. So you should go check that out if you want to see or talk about all the new updates. But I'll quickly run through them. So for example, we've got a new updated front light. In fact, all this front area is slightly different. It's all new. And for the Performance Edition, they've added this front splitter here, spoiler, whatever you want to call it. And then on the side, you see the side air curtains to direct the air around the tyre or over the tyre or whatever. So they've updated that. In fact, this is kind of low. If you look at the front of it, stood right next to me there. And we've got decent front space as well, as usual in Tesla. So practicality on the front and design and everything else, there you have it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And over on the side, it's very hard to recognize what the differences are in terms of the range, so the standard, the long range, and the Performance Edition. But if we look at some of the updates as well, you got the black door handles, which doesn't have any lights when you get in, so it's sometimes hard to see in the dark, but it looks pretty minimalist, very sleek as well for aerodynamics. The tire sizes are different as well on both sides. Here we have a 235 35 R20s. They're both 20-inch, but slightly wider on the back. So on the back, we have a 275 30 R20s on the back. And the tire sizes affects the road noise as well, which we'll talk about when we take this on the road. We've got all the cameras all around it as always as well. And also on this side is where you get your charging port, so you can tap to open it and you can use your phone to do so as well. Over on the back on the Performance is where you start to note some of the major differences in terms of the range. Again, so we have this carbon boot lead spoiler here, which looks good. I think it looks very smart, sporty, very sharp. We've got the Tesla logo written out this time rather than just the logo on the back. I kind of like it. I don't mind it. I know some people don't like it. They prefer the logo on the back. And then we have this badge here, which is the Performance badge. It's not the plaid badge, which you would have heard over and over if you've seen any of these videos online already. And that's another way to notice or to spot a Performance version. And then we got this bottom diffuser here, which looks very sporty as well. I love what they've done with it. It sits very proportionate and looks very nice all round with the look of the car, especially in this red colors as well. It's nice contrast. The lights as well looks really good. On the front's LED, back's LED as well. Just the usual stuff that you get in the car. And then we have a big boot space in here as well. And one thing I love about Teslas is the technology in terms of being able to use your phone to control this thing so remotely. So one of the things I've spoken about before is I normally use this as well for deliveries. So if I'm not at home and the car is at home, and instead of missing the delivery, I can open this remotely and get my delivery driver to drop stuff in the boot, close the car. There's cameras all around the car as well to still see what's going on. So I think it's pretty cool that you can do that. The boot space is under 600 litres of boot space, so it's practical in that sense. You can fit a lot in there. It's bigger than the Porsche Taycan competition to this. One of the things though is this doesn't open quite high enough for me, which is a shame. So someone who's 5'11" like me, you could easily knock this with your head if you're not careful enough. But the boot opening space is not the biggest, but it's big enough to still be able to shove all your suitcases and luggages and stuff like that. And then underneath here, we'll still have loads of space in there to store cables, more stuff, whatever you want to fit in there. You can do so. So space, no issue at all. Over in the back, let's talk about how comfortable it is first. The seats are nice and plush. I think it's nicely done in terms of what it looks like. This is all leatherette material and it's nice in general. This is the white seat option. You can change this as well. You can select a black seat if you prefer. I probably would go for the black seat option if you have kids or dogs or pets or anything like that. But if we look at the sitting position here though, this is quite high for my knees and that could become very uncomfortable on a long trip very quickly. But you do get some space to tuck your feet in under the seat in front, so you can stretch your feet just a tad bit, not the best. I'm about 5'11", so in terms of the ceiling, you got plenty of headroom here. Knee room is fine as well, even with this seat in this position here for the front driver there. One of the things I love though is the middle seat is quite usable. So there's no tunnel here, like transmission tunnel. So you can easily just sit in the middle and the passenger there will be comfortable as well. There's also an armrest here. So the middle bit there do fold down. So you get two cup holders here so you can rest your elbow very easily. I love that this is far forward as well. So you'll be able to rest your elbow, not just comfortably well, but without worrying about sinking your elbow in the cup holder there. So which is cool. I'll put that back up. So then if you have your middle passenger, they can just sit there and they're all good to go. Then we look down here, we have some tech as well for the passengers at the back. We have two USB-C ports so you can charge your devices. And then this 8-inch screen here, it's very bright, it's nice and sharp. It's one of the best I've seen in a car. Most cars doesn't even have this kind of screen in the back. Anyway, so on this 8-inch screen, you see straight away, you got the time in the corner, you got the temperature of the car, inside the car right now. And then from left to right, you got your fan control, so you can control things like turn it off completely. You can also adjust where it's facing and stuff, but you can also move it around like so. So if you want to move the air direction, you can just do that as well. So we'll turn it off for now. And then this fan here, if you're on other screen already, you can just tap it again and it will bring this all up again, turn it off. And then if we tap here, you see your seat control for temperature. So you've got heated seats, so you can control the intensity for both sides. Nothing for the middle passenger, unfortunately. And then what's also cool is you can control the seat position for the passenger front side. So you can move that to get more space if you need to do so without having to come out the car completely. And then we've got your media, so you can play music via different sources. And then your theater, so you got Netflix, Twitch, YouTube, and you can watch some tutorials if you want to do that on the back on how to set things up. And then we have gaming here, so you got a bunch of games available, so your passengers can game on the go. And then we've got small amount of settings available. I had in Bluetooth devices, cleaning mode, and screen brightness, so you can sync it with the front screen as well. And then you got your volume control there. So nice and minimalist, nice and simple to use, straightforward, bright, lots of options there for entertainment for the passengers. Over in the front is very much Tesla up front here. So we have your new ambient lighting that you can change to different colors. You can pick the colors on the settings. We'll go through that as well. You got carbon finishing on top of here, which is, I think it's real carbon. Looks really good as well with your ventilation, all comes from there, your air ducts. And then you got this area here, which you open up. You got plenty of space in here. There's a USB-C port in there. In fact, this goes even deeper inside. And then over here, you got two openings. You've got cup holders here. You've got big space here to store things again. There's a 12-volt port there as well. There used to be USB-C port here, but I think they've moved that, which is a shame because I prefer to have that the two USB-C ports that used to be in older Tesla Model 3s. We closed that up and we have two wireless charging mats here. They're super fast as well, one of the best in any car. They actually work each and every time, so you can charge two phones wirelessly at all times. But the big difference here though in the front is the fact that we have this new seats here. So these new seats have better side bolsters, so it holds you into place when you drive in, which is good because it's a performance version. And you get to notice that this is different in the first place when you get into it. So it's not like your regular Tesla Model 3. And secondly, it's actually good for how much it keeps you in place and the safety elements of the car. It's still heated and cooled as well. Again, you can opt for a different color. You can adjust the seats as well on the side and save the seating position to the profile for both when you're in it and when you get out of the car as well. And then here we have this big 15.4-inch display, which is again, nice and bright, but this is where you control everything. So there's barely any buttons all around the car. And we've spoken about this before. The indicator stalk is moved as well. There's no stalks at all. So everything's on here, which I still can't get used to till today. It's just something that really irks me because I prefer the stalk, because sometimes I'm trying to indicate on the motorway and my autopilot mode is just thinking, let me just quickly do this, and I can't do that. And roundabouts as well becomes a bit weird and just awkward to use. And the gear shifter as well has moved, so it's now on here. So if I tap the brake here, you slide up to go forward, slide back to go backwards, and tap to put into a parking position. But if this freezes up or anything happens for whatever reason, you can also use the buttons up here, which a lot of people don't actually notice that it's there. So you can actually use park, reverse, neutral, drive. They're both there, so you can use that as well. Some of the areas where you start to feel like here it's not that premium is when you start to look around and play with things. For example, all these panels here and here as well, this is just like it's gonna fall off. It doesn't look very premium to me. We have a sunroof that goes all across the whole roof. But one thing about that though is when it gets really hot, which it doesn't really get hot that much in the UK, or you get a lot of sunshine, you don't get enough protection. So if you're bald or anything like that, it might just really burn your head. So use factor 50, folks, if you're living in the hot countries. But yeah, let's have a look at the screen, see what that's about and some of the controls on the steering. So like I was saying, this is around 15.4 inch and it's basically a big iPad in front of you, big tablet in front of you. You got several controls on there. For example, you can control your climate here, you can drag it up and you got more options to do with all your climate stuff, including dog mode as well. Turn that off for now. You got your heated seats and also cooling as well. You can also have it to be auto if you go through the settings. And then if we press this, this will give you some more options. So you got things like zoom in the car, Bluetooth, connectivity, tidal, etc. And so on and so forth. We're not going to go through all this because it's pretty much the same thing. So if you've seen any Tesla stuff before, it's pretty much simple. One thing you can't knock Tesla for is their performance when it comes to all this, because it just works really well. Look how fluid this is, and this is an accurate representation of what this car actually is in terms of the colors, the spec, the design, everything. And you can also change the colors as well if you want to mess around with it. and you can quickly open things like the front and the charging ports and the boot just by tapping those little icons there. One thing I want to show on here though is if we go into our car settings, first of all, again, like I said, everything is controlled here, including your steering wheel control, your mirror control, even opening the glove box. You have to do everything by coming here. But that aside, let's go into dynamics. This is all the performance bit that we need to talk about. Before I do that, actually, that's that gear shift I was talking about. So there's a slide here that you use for changing gears. But back to this, we have chill, standard, and insane mode for acceleration. Insane mode is literally what it says. It's just too much. It's just ridiculous. And then you've got ride handling, so standard sports. So that will change the way your suspensions are. This has got adaptive suspension, and your chassis as well, stiff or whatever. So if I tap info, it tells you exactly what it is in terms of ride handling and what that means. Then we've got steering weight. You've got light, standard, heavy. Regardless of which one you go for, it's still pretty concise and still got a bit of weight to it, which I really like in Teslas in general. And then here is where all the fun is. So you've got track mode. If you go to customize, you'll see everything that you can do. So you've got a personalized one, so you can add new profiles. So if you have two people in the house that drives in different ways, you can change that as well. Got race preset, which you can't delete. It's just set to what Tesla think it should be. Then you got a drift preset, which again, they've set it to do a lot of oversteering. For example, stability is off, so there's no traction there at all. If I go to my custom one, then you can see what you can do yourself. So again, you can go neutral. You can go to some understeering in terms of balancing, or oversteer if you prefer, or you just keep it neutral for racing. Got stability control for traction, so you can turn it off completely. You can have minimal, you can have reduced as well. And because regen in here is quite strong, so it allows you to have one pedal driving, it means it's going to brake. So you can adjust that as well, so it doesn't affect your braking when doing track activity. So you got post-driving cooling to cool the battery and all that kind of stuff down afterwards, and save your dash cam laps. You can have footage of you just absolutely screaming your face out when you're driving this in track mode. But that's pretty much what I wanted to show on here. Everything else is pretty much still similar, still the same in terms of settings and everything that you can do. So that's all that you need to know as far as this goes. So I guess we've got to talk about the performance inside the performance. See what I did there? Here's the thing, in terms of all the numbers that comes with all the cars that we reviewed, Tesla is not one to give you all the full numbers. They give you some of them. So for example, I don't know what the official torque numbers would be in here, but if they don't talk about it, you can definitely feel it in this car. 0 to 62 is 2.9 seconds, just shy of 3 seconds, and is way more than what you'd get in the long range or even the standard version of the Model 3. And with this, you get 163 miles top speed, and this is 460 horsepower, and it's got loads of power in here. So you got a big battery in there, which is different from the US folks actually, in terms of the battery size. So you get a bit more power in the US compared to here in the UK. And in terms of pricing as well, this starts from £60,000, there or there, 59, which is £20,000 more than the standard model and £10,000 more than the long range model. Do you need to get this one? Absolutely not. You should go for the long range one if you need the range, and if you don't care about the range too tough, then maybe go for the standard one, because regardless, you still get a decent amount of 0 to 60 figures, not 0 to 62 by the way. The long range one I think gives you around 5.4 seconds or something like that, so you still get enough power and enough acceleration and the torque you need for those things. But if you're someone who's a speed demon and you just need something a bit more powerful, then absolutely by all means spend the extra £10,000 or so and get one of these. One of the things on here that I really love is just the fact that they've updated a bunch of things in here to do with the performance to make sure that everything works very well. So whether it's software, whether it's hardware, stuff like that. So for example, the chassis has been updated, so structurally it's stiffer. You got the updated springs as well, the stabilizer bar and the bushings all been updated so that this feels a lot more stabilized and just works really well. For the first time, we have adaptive suspension in here as well, which adaptive dampers, which means this using software will adapt to the road conditions. So whether it's you're driving fast in traction mode, for example, or in insane mode, or whether it's changing steering settings, whatever it is, the car is capable of handling all those road condition. One of the things, again, here that we've spoken about already that I really don't like is this stalk thing, but we'll leave that. We'll stop talking about it because I think every time I get in a Tesla now, it's going to have to be something that I mention all the time. But that aside though, one of the good things here is visibility as well. Visibility is not an issue. So whether it's you're driving on track or normal roads like this, you can see all around the car. Besides the smaller frame windows at the back though, that's the only thing that gets me constantly adjusting my mirror depending on how I'm sitting in the car. Sometimes I'm leaning back on long journeys and stuff like that. Do I have any negative things to say about the car though? Besides, we'll talk about handling and stuff in a second, but some of the negative things I would like to say about the car though is the fact that your windows wipers, for example, on the front, they still have that bad sensor on there. So all of a sudden it will just go off, or when it's actually raining heavily, it doesn't do enough. So it doesn't know what it wants to do most of the time. Another thing is, we've got this new, thankfully they've put it there, the blind spot light that comes on where the speaker is on the front. With that, it doesn't really show that well. So it just means that sometimes you miss it, that you completely miss that it's there. So that's a shame. That should have been just put a light on the mirror or something, just so that we know what's in the blind spot, or if something is coming in our blind spot. Another thing is we have a self-driving system here, so just advanced self-driving system. And with this means you can basically double tap on the steering and it will drive itself and all that kind of stuff. But be careful when you use it, because sometimes it can be quite sporadic. So what you find is on the motorway, for example, sometimes I'm in a right lane and sometimes it will think there's a car on my left that might swerve into me. And all of a sudden the car just slams to slow down to prevent that from happening when there's nothing there. And if you're not paying attention, the car behind you will just go straight into you. So I think that still needs a lot of work. So as a tech company as Tesla is, as much of a tech company as they are, there's that kind of little things that they should basically fix before they carry on. Like that should have been fixed by now. It's been 6 years of Model 3. But that aside though, let's talk about the performance in this. It's no issue at all. In fact, it's frighteningly so quick. When you put your foot down, you almost break your neck basically, because here we go. It's what I mean with this roundabout situation and this indicator buttons. I have to keep looking at the steering to make sure I'm pressing the right one to go left or right. They could have at least put left on the left and right on the right. Anyway, digress. Back to the handling. It handles the road very well. There's no problems there at all. Tesla Model 3 for me from day one, it's always been very nimble, very good with cornering. You chuck it there, it goes where you need it to go. This one takes it just a tad bit further with those adaptive dampers that we have. It works really well when it comes to the chassis, the stiffness of it, and it's now a lot more comfortable when you're driving a normal road. One of my issues is when I drive long distances in the Model 3, I find that my back is aching from how stiff it is. It's not that, it doesn't feel that comfortable. But now they've updated that. It feels a lot more comfortable. The handling on the road is still pretty much good. Like the steering ratio is really good. It's nicely weighted. You can have it even heavier as well. Before, it used to be quite, nervous when you go around corners, but now you can just drive it and just give it a nice, smooth ride and not worry about cornering at all. It works really well. It's very fast. I spoke about this already. There's plenty of power in here. But what you get in here though is the lower end of the power output is really good. It's really fast. But on the motorway, for example, on the higher end, you don't feel as if you're using all that power. It doesn't feel as powerful as I'd hope it'd be in the higher end of things. But it's still powerful though. Don't get me wrong. Do not mess with this car, because yesterday I was having it out with one of the M5 competition, or is it M4? Sorry, M4 competition on the motorway heading to Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. But yeah, very good car all around when it comes to handling. I actually love the design. I don't think they've done bad at all when it comes to the design. It's been refined. In terms of the materials and just how plush it is inside, the premium level quality of the car, that's improved ever so slightly as well. Could still be better with some of the things that still feels like it's going to move out the way or anything like that. So that's something to bear in mind. But overall though, I think it's fantastic. It's definitely one that's up there in terms of the EV performance cars out there. It might be confusing with the whole plaid performance thing, but if they're going to stick to performance for the Model 3 range, then stick to it. It is what it is. But yeah, over to you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any questions, drop them there as well. I'll do my best to answer you. I forgot to mention, you get 250 kilowatts fast charge as well. And the supercharger network is one of the best there is. So when it comes to charging, you don't have to worry about it. They're quoted around 328 miles on the WLTP. But for me, I've been getting around 280, 290 on a good day, depending on my driving style and all that stuff. Traction mode, we're not going to put that to the test because this is not what we do on this channel. So if you're interested in traction mode, I'm sure someone else has done like drag races and stuff that you can go watch and see how that works. But yeah, good tires as well for grip. Those wider tires do affect the road noise. So you do get more noise in the cabin than you would normally. So road noise is something to bear in mind, but you do get good grip as well. You got those Pirelli P0s there. So traction on the road is no issue at all. It just grips it very well. So very good in that area. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Oh.